is the size of a horse. You could almost ride her. Hey. That overweight can be a big... The piglet's pushing my camera stand. Hang on. Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel, or for those that are new here, hello, my name is Alicia. Me and my husband Jaden live here in New Zealand on a 10-acre property where we have a small-scale pig rearing business. So at the moment we have 5 adult pigs and 4 growers. So in today's video we're going to be looking at issues that can arise if you have overweight pigs, what you should be feeding your pigs, what you shouldn't be feeding your pigs, and also how much you should be feeding your pigs. Also later on in this video we'll be looking at the body condition score chart to see if our pigs are in a healthy weight range. I hope you enjoy this video. Let's get into it. So first up, how much food should you be feeding your pigs per day? So your dry sows should be getting around 2 kgs of feed per day. Dry sows is just meaning they are not currently feeding piglets. This also applies to your boars as well. And now you've also got to make sure you feed your pigs twice a day. That is just to keep them satisfied. When it comes to what you should feed your pigs, they need to have a healthy diet. Pigs are not garbage disposal units. They don't do well if you feed them a lot of cakes and sugary food. They need to have access to a lot of fresh fruit and vegetables and also pig formulated pellets. When you're feeding your pigs, just make sure you're not feeding them anything really mouldy or rotten, and also don't feed them foods such as unripe tomatoes, uncooked potatoes and onions. Pigs are also quite fussy and they won't eat things like potato peelings and citrus skins. Now a big one is don't feed your pigs raw meat. This can lead to them getting a lot of diseases, and in New Zealand there's actually a law that MPI has put in place that you cannot actually feed your pigs raw meat. So make sure when you're feeding your pigs any kind of meat that is thoroughly cooked through. And when it comes to fruits with pips and stuff in it, because I know a lot of people have asked me in the past, can pigs eat like plums and apricots and things, stone fruit? Yes they can. Pigs are actually really smart. When they eat the food they actually learn how to spit the pip out. So don't worry about feeding your pigs pitted fruits. And also on that note, avocados. I know I've read in a few sources that you can't feed your pigs avocado, but I have fed my pigs avocados for years and I've never had any issues. Make sure that you feed your pigs a variety, so don't go feeding your pigs the same thing every day. Like if you get a big bin of kiwi fruit or something, don't just feed your pigs buckets of kiwi fruit every day. They need to have a variety in what they're eating, just like we do. Okay, now moving on to obesity in pigs. This can be a huge problem for both the pigs and pig rearers. So one of the main issues is that being overweight obviously, Dorothy, being overweight obviously means that it affects the pig's joints. It makes it harder for them to get up and down and move around. When it comes to farrowing, it can create a lot of conception issues and farrowing issues. This is what happens when you have a camera stand in a pig pen. We may have to take this camera stand out. If the sows are overweight, it can lead to farrowing issues. This is because the amount of fat that's around the sow's cervix. It also leads to a lot more piglet mortality because obviously the sows are so much bigger. It's hard for them to get up and move, and it is easier for them to roll and squash all of their piglets. Boars are no exception either. You want to make sure that your boar is a healthy weight. This is because obviously if the boars are too heavy for the sows, it can lead to the sows getting pinched nerves and also damaging nerves in the sow's spine. This is our Berkshire boar Jasper. He is a little bit on the tubby side, so we just got to make sure we cut down his feed so he's not too big for the girls. So apart from being overweight, you certainly don't want them underweight either. This can become a big issue when you have your sows feeding their piglets, because obviously the piglets are taking all the nutrients from the mother when they're feeding. To avoid the sow losing condition, we tend to feed the sow 3 times a day as opposed to 2, just to make sure that she's got enough food to create lots of milk for the piglets. You've got to feed them about 8 kgs at least per day, which equals probably 2 buckets of scraps. Now when it comes to growing pigs like these little guys, These can't be overfed. They're different to the adults and they actually stop feeding when they're full. So these little piglets get about 2.5 to 3 kgs of pellets a day. I also must add, you should try and separate the little ones from the adults to stop competition for food. So we've just got a separate pen over here where we feed the little ones, although it is becoming a bit harder for them to go under that gap there because they're getting so big. But yeah, we keep a separate area to feed these little ones just so it makes sure that they actually get the food and the adults aren't eating it all. Hey Dorothy, you're getting a bit big to come under there. We might have to raise that rail for them. Okay, so to assess whether your pig is a healthy weight, underweight or overweight, we use something called a body condition score chart. So what you do is you need to feel along the backbone of your pig, the ribs and hip bones, to see how prominent they are or if they're not prominent at all. So a healthy pig, when you press firmly against their backbone and ribs, you will barely be able to feel them. A overweight pig, you won't be able to feel them at all, and a underweight pig, obviously you'd probably see the ribs without even feeling it. Okay, so I'm going to jump over shortly and we will assess my pigs to see whether they're underweight, overweight or a good weight. Now I know already looking at them that some of them are leaning more to the fatter side, but bear in mind they are all pregnant at the moment and due next month to have their piglets. The piglets though, I'll show you that I know that they are a perfect weight. So yeah, it would be good to jump over and show you in real life how to use that body score chart. Right, so first up we'll start off with Martha. To me, she is a optimal weight. If you go along her back and firmly press against it, you'll feel her backbone. And then when you go along the side of her, if you can firmly press, you should be able to feel her ribs very slightly. Also, the shape of her hips isn't like a square shape, it's curved around and you can feel all her hip bones. Now moving on to Cynthia here, she is slightly overweight, however she is pregnant at the moment. So when you go to feel her spine, her backbone, you can't really feel it. You can see the fat on her shoulders. When you go to try and find her ribs, you can't feel them at all because of that big layer of fat. So yeah, she is slightly too fat and really should be starting to cut down her feed to get her to more of an optimum weight, especially before she's going to have her piglets next month. Ready? Here we have one of the growing pigs who are also at an optimal weight range. So you can go across their spine and you can feel their backbone slightly with pressure, and then you also check to feel their ribs, which you can slightly feel them. To make the pig stand still, you can just slightly rub their tummies. It kind of puts them in a trance when you're touching all their teeth. So you can do it that way. So you can feel her spine and then feel her ribs on either side, and then also her hip bones as well. Although I'm a bit of an awkward stance. But yeah, you can feel her hip bones as well. And that is under firm pressure. So, and you can tell she's not underweight because obviously you can't see her ribs or anything. And she's not overweight because you can feel those rib bones and that backbone. Hey! She's going over. Oh, and she's over. Oh, that's nice. So here we have Jasper, our boar. He is definitely on the overweight side, unfortunately. We really do need to try and cut down his food. You can see the fat on his shoulders. You can't feel his spine, and you can't really feel his ribs either. I mean, if you push really hard, you can kind of feel them. So yeah, he is an example of an overweight pig, which we don't really want our boar to be overweight because that can lead to all sorts of issues with our sows. But in our case, our sows are quite large as well, so it hasn't really affected us having a large boar because of the size of our cells. Now I would show you an underweight pig, but we don't have any here because we strive to keep very healthy, very healthy pigs. So I'd rather have a pig slightly more towards the heavier side rather than being underweight. Hey, that's Jaden's boy. So that pretty much wraps up today's video. I hope everyone learned a bit about what to feed your pigs, how much to feed your pigs, and the effect it can have on your pigs if they are overweight or underweight. Also, I hope you're more familiar now with the condition score chart and you're able to identify if your pigs are either underweight, optimum, or overweight.
Piggies. Oh.
Are you in the pig pen? With Jasper?
What?
Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in another video. Bye. Yeah?
Dad. Hello.